Hi there, I'm Pete Hammond and happy to moderate this session. I am the only one you are looking at on the screen who has never played Spider-Man. And this is exciting. I think it's almost historic. We have the three in the last 20 years of this franchise. Tobey Maguire, who of course started it all with the first three Spider-Men. Hi, Tobey.
Hello.
The pioneer in this. And then, of course, Andrew Garfield, who carried it on in the next two. Hey.
Yeah.
And now Tom Holland, who's completed his first trilogy. We'll find out if there's more with Tom Holland right here. Welcome and wow. I have to say right off the bat, did any of you have any idea that this movie would have the impact that it's had around the globe beyond all expectations, I think, even for Spider-Man? I mean, Tom, did you, having just done the third one now?
I mean, I think I always knew that this film would be loved around the world. I didn't think it would be quite as massive as it has been. You know, one of my favorite things to do at the minute is to go online and watch fans' reactions to you guys coming in. That one scene in particular, I don't think I could ever have imagined it being so well received by everyone. So no, I mean, I guess I had an idea that people would love this movie, but in no way, shape, or form could I have thought it was going to be as big as it has been. And it's been, only the last couple of weeks, if I sort of really come back to reality and come home and started to face real world problems. And it feels like we've been on some sort of really weird dream. It feels really strange.
It does in a way, but it's so exciting. I had the advantage of being at the very first press screening, so to me it was brand new, which is the way anybody should see a movie. And when Tobey and Andrew come in, that audience reaction was like nothing I've experienced in a long time, and especially now in the age of COVID, it's so great. This movie seems so needed to restore our faith in movies and the movie going experience. Tobey and Andrew, I have to ask you though, how did you get involved? I mean, when they came to you, I can't imagine, Tobey, they said, "Oh, we want you to do Spider-Man again." What was it?
Yeah, I went and had a meeting with Amy and Kevin, Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige, and had talked about, they sort of just, teased it. I think Amy was like, "We'd love to talk to you, and you know what this is about." And I was like, "Okay, sure, let's have a chat."
And I think with Amy, you're like, "No, I don't, Amy, know."
Yeah, no, I know. I was
like, what?
Maybe you could just give me a little bit of information, but I don't know. I gotta say, I was intrigued immediately. Like in that conversation, the intention, the kind of love and celebration of these movies and what it meant, I think, to Amy and Kevin was apparent. And to me, when artists or people who are steering the creative process have a kind of authentic, genuine intent of celebration and love, it just was so apparent in both of them that I don't know, I just wanted to join that. And I'm a big fan of Tom and those movies and Andrew, so it was definitely intriguing. But yes, I was also going, well, what are we going to do? And that was a bit mysterious. I did appreciate what was shared, but it was really about getting together with these people and revisiting, what was part of my history, and getting a chance to like come together. And there are personal things too, which are kind of resolutions or a way to revisit, and I'm not quite sure how to put it. It's just to get back into that, and I don't want to say like close the chapter, but revisit and have certain resolutions, and just join in this like loving creative spirit.
Yeah, it's amazing. What about for you, Andrew? I thought, well, with Tick, Tick, Boom and with the eyes of Tammy Faye, we've seen a lot of Andrew Garfield in fantastic performances this year alone. when I saw this movie, I wasn't expecting a third one on that, and amazing to see you back in these in this costume and this franchise. So for you, what was it like going back?
Well, I was just waiting to see if Tobey was going to do it, and if Tobey was going to do it, and I was like, well, I have no choice, you know. I follow Tobey to the ends of the earth. I'm a lemming for Tobey. But that was sincerely a big part of it, you know, when I was approached about it, and again, in a similar way to what Tobey was saying, it was like, oh, the intention feels very pure here. It actually feels like a great creative idea and a great creative story. It wasn't like they were just asking us to come and say hi and then leave again, but actually have our presence being in service to Tom, you know, being in service to Tom's journey and where he is as Peter Parker, and how I love the destiny feeling of the multiverse expanding in this film, and actually that without Tobey's Peter and Andrew's Peter being present for Tom's Peter at this very moment, he may not become the Peter Parker that he's supposed to become. I love that there's and that maybe he would have lost his girlfriend, and that maybe he would have gone down a darker path if Tobey hadn't have given him that kind of mentorship moment, that better angel kind of moment. So it was those things. I get chills thinking about it even now. So for me, it was like, and it's the same kind of judgment call with any script or any film. It's like, is this a story worth telling, and do I want to work with these people? And it was a big double kind of capitalized yes, and then it exceeded my expectations, because the way that Tom and Zendaya and Jacob are as a trio is just like a kind of magical heaven kind of friendship, and then so welcoming of me and Tobey into the gang. And then the way that Tom works with John Watts and Kevin and Amy, it's like, it's very open, it's very free. And so Tobey and I felt not only welcomed, but actually given lots of permission to play and to kind of find our way into being of service to Tom's story in this way. And it was just a kind of joyful few weeks that we all got to spend together, which I you know, could have been an absolute, not like you kind of think, well, getting 3 Spider-Men together could go one of 2 ways. And I think it's a testament to these guys that it went the way that it went, which was a brotherhood, which is just beautiful.
I have to say, Tobey, I just read this morning Sam Raimi just praising this reunion of all 3 of you, are the you know, putting you all on the screen together, and what it was in this film. I mean, he loved it, which is high praise coming from the original director here, I think.
How sweet. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, just came out this morning. Someone asked him, one of the trade papers, and he just had high praise. Tom, for you working with them, I'm wondering, did you have any kind of rehearsal time to get used to this idea, or did you just jump in and you're all in your Spider-Man motif here?
Yeah, it was daunting. It was very daunting, because we were a long way into shooting before you guys showed up. You know, we were maybe 3 months into principal photography, and you know, the date of the other Spider-Mans are coming was etched on my calendar, and I was getting closer and closer and closer. And you know, the closer and closer I got, the more and more nervous I was. And then as soon as I met you guys in Atlanta, I realized I had nothing to be nervous about. But at our first rehearsal, I had asked Jacob and Zendaya to come with me, to just kind of be there as like my support system. Like, I'm going to go meet these guys. I'm really nervous about it. We have to read the scene, and I don't know how this is going to go, because we're all playing the same character, and we all have to bring our own kind of heart and soul into this. And, you know, it means a lot to them and it means a lot to me. Does it mean the same? So Jacob and Zendaya were there on that first day. But I think it was really strange and almost a little unfair how they had us put the suits on and then just jump around in front of a camera together. Like, that was one of the most bizarre experiences of my life. And again, Jacob and Zendaya were there for that, to support me. But it was an amazing experience. And from day one, it was a roller coaster that I didn't want to get off. And it was a lot of fun. And like you said, Andrew, like, it was so collaborative. It was so playful, you know, from you cracking Tobey's back to you coming up with the idea of pointing at us. Like, it was all stuff that we came up with on the day. And it was just a lot of fun to be able to play with three guys in Spider-Man suits. It was a strange experience, but one that I won't ever forget.
Yeah, and how did you guys keep this a secret so well? I know there's all that pressure on you, but I mean, it really was a well-kept secret, and that's a hard thing to do in the age of social media and the internet and speculation. And did they threaten you with anything here or what?
You
How
had the
did you
worst
do
of
it?
it though, Andrew. Because you were doing press for months. Yeah, like
Out there, man. I'm like out there, and everyone's like, "Why is Andrew Garfield on a press tour just denying Spider-Man? Like these other two films." I'm like, dudes, like look at this stuff. So yeah, no, I definitely think I had the hardest time.
you had the worst part of it. Yeah.
Thrust into the world just like coincided with having to lie for the sake of that audience reaction. I think so, and I know. I equate it to like, when you're organizing a surprise birthday party for someone that you love and they keep saying, mate, just tell me I hate surprises. I hate surprises, but deep down, they will love the surprise. I justified my ethical kind of like unethical lying behavior. I call it fibbing more than lying.
Right.
It was I kind of enjoyed it. It was quite fun, and it felt like a game of that game Werewolf or Mafia, where you're the werewolf and you have to convince everyone that you're not. So I kind of like turned it into a little bit of a game for myself. I don't know, and it did result in this kind of like, even though there were all these leaks and all this stuff happening, I think like there was enough doubt in everyone's mind, going, oh God, what if it isn't? What if it isn't? What if they don't show up? And then, so when we did, it kind of gave them that little bit of icing on top of an already incredibly deep. Like, I watched the movie with Tobey for the first time and I was in pieces. Like, this is a deep movie. This isn't just fan service, which, it partially is, but like, this is a movie that is about a coming of age, like an acceptance of loss, acceptance of death, taking responsibility for your gifts, and like, I was torn open by the journey that Tom went on, and that he was it was just like having to split with his girlfriend and his best friend and sacrifice that in order. It's classic Peter Parker, but it felt totally fresh and totally reimagined. Like, his origin, like Tom's origin story, was happening in his third movie rather than his first. Like, there's something so profound. So the film, I feel, stands alone without me and Tobey showing up. I hope we enhance it, but like, I think John and Tom have made just something actually that is exceptionally moving, especially for young people. I think it's a beautiful film.
Yeah, yeah, Tom, it is highly emotional. You have those close-ups of you, with Aunt May, and then beyond, and the whole coda. If you haven't seen the movie, hold your ears, because that ending is really touching. And it's unlike what we've seen before in the Spider-Man universe. So to play that must have been emotional too, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, it was emotional. There definitely was a sense for me as an actor that this was the last time that I could potentially don the suit. So a lot of that emotion came from the act of saying goodbye, which is one of the biggest themes throughout this film. So, thankfully, I was really able to draw on my own experience and my own feelings in those moments. But this film also felt like a huge celebration. This movie really is a celebration of 3 generations of cinema. So at times we would be getting into these scenes that were incredibly emotional, that, they're very taxing. And I was so happy to be there that I had to go at it a different way and kind of go, wow, look at my life. Look what's happened to me. I'm working with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and we're telling this story. And I would get emotional at kind of how proud I was of the situation that we were in, and that what we were doing, and that I really believed in what we were doing. So yeah, it was tough, but anything hard is worthwhile. And I was happy to kind of really push myself and to make this film more emotional than superhero films have been in the past. But yeah, so a lot of it was I was drawing on my own kind of feelings as we went along.
Yeah, Toby, this feels like a culmination. In fact, I did a little interview with Amy Pascal, and she described it that way. She said this movie is a culmination of 20 years, what began with you and your 3, and now going full circle here. Is that the way you look at it too when you looked at this, that this is like the end of one thing, maybe the beginning of another somehow, but the end here of what you started?
Well, I'll say I remember being on set, and it was, I believe, our last day, Andrew, and it was really amazing. And I had the awareness of this, you know, the 20 years of history, but looking at Amy and Kevin and realizing that they've been there through all the different iterations. And it was really powerful, just personally, it was really powerful. It was powerful for me to be working with Andrew and Tom, and powerful in a legitimately moving, emotional way. And then to witness Amy and Kevin and consider their journeys through all the films, it was really impactful. And yeah, I was just grateful every day. It was such a rich experience. And as the guys have touched on, the kind of sharing of something and the brotherhood of it, it was just so rich, emotional. And I don't know, I'm not like sitting there conceptually thinking about that all the time, but I would have moments where that kind of stuff would hit me. You know, day to day, it was just a beautiful kind of unfolding of this story and these relationships. So I was more just like in that on the day to day, but I'd have these like reflection moments, which were quite powerful and elegantly woven ultimately, because it's actually, you're thinking about taking 20 years of history and revisiting that, and how do you balance all of these things. And each of our kind of series of films have, you know, the characters we're playing the same character, but they're also unique, and the way those films and characters evolved in those films are unique. And then to bring all of that together, including you know, all of our super villains and all of that, it was pretty wild to witness the immensity of all of this history coming together and being put into what Andrew is saying is this, you know, standalone worthwhile story. And I too just wanted to say with the coda of the movie, I was really touched emotionally, but also I just thought it had such a sweet elegance to it. Like, that was so amazing. And I agree in terms of the origin story and the kind of coming of age, or you know, Tom, your character stepping into this different kind of maturity and responsibility, and all done with this like really sweet, sad, elegant touch. It was just beautiful.
Yeah, it's a remarkable movie, the way they did this. I got a big shout out here to John Watts, who I had seen Cop Car, and I think the first time I talked to you, Tom, it was with John, and when you had done the first Spider-Man, and all I could do is talk about this little movie Cop Car that he did, and think, wow, this guy's going somewhere. What was it like working with John on this film for you guys? Andrew and Tobey had not before. Obviously, Tom had. What was that experience like?
It's so funny because what Tobey just said about the kind of, in those moments of awareness where you realize that we were bringing in 20 years of history and then some into a frame every day. That hugeness that I know that we only got a sense of in moments. And I remember maybe the first time I got a sense of it where I think we were on a scaffolding and like we were talking to Doctor Strange, who wasn't actually there, and Tom turned to us and said, there's something that doesn't feel quite right about this. It feels a bit awkward, or like we just kind of stood here and both me and Tobey were like, yeah, this feels a little weird. We feel a little odd. And then in that moment, John Watts comes up the scaffolding, goes, that's the movie. That's it. We got it. It's the part of the film. This is the moment. And we're all like, we're insane then. We weren't seeing what he was seeing, which he then just showed us. And it was just the three of us in our suits in the same frame. And just how profoundly moving that is unto itself for Spider-Man fans the world over. And I think it was at that point where I was like, oh no, people are gonna like this movie a lot. You know, like, or this element of things. But in regards to the bigness that Tobey was talking about, it also mostly just felt very small, like we were making Cop Car, like we were just doing an independent Spider-Man film. And that's why the tone of these films that Tom and John have created together feel like a Michael J. Fox, John Hughes, indie kind of small details, awkward, beautiful humor, proper, deep, intimate love stuff with huge scope, but like at the essence of it is just pure heart. And that's what it felt like with John. It felt like I was just so overwhelmed by how unperturbed he was by what he was trying to achieve. Like it was so big objectively, but his calmness, his ability to allow actors to improvise, to play, and then for him to throw out wild ideas in the mix, to let takes run and run and run, to give us time to really find what we were doing, and to go down the wrong path to then find towards the new path, the right path. I was just incredibly impressed and actually just really grateful for the experience with John. He's someone that he's a real actor's director, and that is especially hard to feel in the midst of the machinery of a film that does have this scope. And I know that Tom will be able to talk to that even better than me.
Yeah, Tom, that's quite a collaboration you've had for the last 3 films with him, and he's done a really interesting job with this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, John and I spoke yesterday for the first time since the film has been released. And I think it took us so long because we needed time to just kind of let the dust settle. And then we spoke yesterday, and the first kind of 10 minutes of our conversation was kind of like we're both kind of in disbelief of what's happened and what we've achieved. You know, I'm talking to him like, I remember meeting you for the first time in my trailer. I was 18 years old, and you had never directed a movie like this before, and both of us hadn't a fucking clue what we were doing. We were both like, I was petrified, he was petrified. And then on this movie, we were able to put our best foot forward, go there day one and feel confident in our capabilities. And it's just been one of those relationships that I've had that I will cherish forever. You know, John and I have no boundaries with each other. You know, we have no fear in telling each other how it is and being honest. And I think when you make these kind of movies, it's very important to make sure that you don't lose the heart and soul of why you started doing this in the first place. And I think John Watts was the perfect person to kind of keep that throughout the trilogy. But for me as an actor, he's like a gold mine. He will let you do whatever you want until you've gone too far, and then he'll reel you back in, and he'll always set you on the right track. And he's someone that you can really trust. He's incredibly creative. You know, he never sacrifices quality for quantity. You know, like he is the kind of person that will shut a scene down and say, we're done for the day. We're going to pick this up tomorrow because it's not reaching my expectations. And that's happened a few times on this film and in the previous 2 films. So I've always really appreciated his bravery to say to the studio, I'm finished for the day. I'm not shooting this scene until we come up with something better. I think that's an incredible quality and something I know I couldn't have done. I would have been like, yeah, just we'll shoot 4 hours over until we figure it out. Don't tell me what to do. So yeah, so I've always been a huge fan of John's, and he's a great friend. And I'm so glad that you guys had just as an amazing experience with him as I have.
I have to ask you, Tobey, I'm sure people are wondering, so what was it like? These costumes, the costume designs, it's, you know, iconic. What was it like getting back into that suit?
Well, you know, once you get through the process of, you know, really peeling it onto your body, it was, I don't know, a lot of things. It was uncomfortable getting it on, and then it's a goof, and then it also has a sort of, you know, I guess a sort of a power in a sense, because it brings me back into that character. It really does. There's so much affinity for this character. It means so much to so many people that, you know, once the sort of goofiness of being in lycra or spandex, you know, once that goes away, you're like, oh wow, this is cool. This is that sort of a responsibility, but a blessing, like something that I get to do that I'm grateful for. And that was fun, but honestly, like being with these guys, it really was just a much richer experience than I anticipated, or that I could really even express in words. I know that's not the question about the suit, but the suit is, it just, to get to be there with these guys in their suits, and whether it was like dancing around or playing around in scenes and improving, or you know, feeling that kind of sense of service to each other, and the character being in service to humanity, it really gives a certain perspective. And then the kind of trust and openness that I had with these guys, and John and Amy and everyone, it just brought this really open, I don't know, I just felt super safe, and like we were all on the same team and all in support of each other. And it just brought out this yeah, I don't know how to put it other than just like this really loving, fun, creative experience that I was just like sitting in gratitude every day, which is not always the case when you're working on something, you know, even just from the standpoint of like trying to figure out what you're doing, and it wasn't without its challenges, but it all just unfolded the way it needed to, or whatever. Just, it had a sense of this kind of destiny to it as well. So I guess the suit was the doorway to that.
It's I have to mention the theatrical experience here, which has been threatened, and people say, oh, it's the beginning of the end and everybody's going to sit on their couch and watch movies at home and things. And this movie is almost single-handedly being credited for proving that that is not true. That movies exist in movie theaters the way they were designed by their filmmakers to be seen. And this is the perfect example of a movie that if you can in any way see it with an audience, the collective experience of watching this movie is, again, it's like unlike anything I've seen in a long time, that kind of feeling you get. And it's got to be preserved. And so all three of you are here, part of the reason why movies are going to go on, to give me hope, you know, for this. Tom, you in particular, you might go on and do more Spider-Man. I'm going to try to get a scoop here. What's going to happen?
The truth is, the truthful answer, and I've done a whole press tour where all I do is lie. Yeah. The truth is, and you're not going to like the truth, I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question. This film for me was as special as an experience could ever be. Sharing the screen with these guys, you know, playing Spider-Man can be quite an alienating experience because, you know, we're the only three blokes who have done it. So to share that with you two, and for it to have been such a wonderful experience, of which I have such amazing memories, I don't know, there's part of me that feels like it's the perfect time to jump off the building and swing off into the sunset and let the next lucky young kid come in to don the suit. I know I love this character, and I know that I am not ready to say goodbye, but if it is time for me to say goodbye, then I will do so proudly, knowing that I have achieved everything I wanted to with this character, and sharing it with these boys will be forever one of the most special experiences of my career. So if it's time, it's time. If it's not, it's not. But at the moment, I don't know.
Well, we certainly can't wait to see what you do next. And all three of you, and again, congratulations, Andrew, on all your other films this year, which are great. And I'm happy to say I've seen all of them in a theater, and they're all different. And all of you are big champions of independent filmmaking too. So I loved what you said about this felt like an independent film in its own way, even on the scale that it was being produced. And you're all big champions of that throughout your careers. So keep it going. And thanks for joining us here and talking this rare opportunity to see three Spider-Men together. This is so exciting. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.